regardless of that, it's awesome to be here, huge honor. Good morning. My name is Pedro Sorrentino, I'm 24 years old. I'm from Brazil, lived my whole life in São Paulo, but the last 3 years I've been living in Boulder, Colorado. And I'm a startup guy, and I'm gonna talk today about how you can scale yourself and the stuff that surround you. Pretty much, okay. All right, so a rocket ship is a great metaphor for what I feel every day, having worked for startups and co-founded a couple of them, and just being part of that massive thing that entrepreneurship is all about, that when you create something out of thin air and you provide value to real people in real life. So massive growth is something that fascinates me. And I believe that there are two different ways that you can think about massive growth, or like very high scalability. The first one would be an external type of scalability. When you build something, and you build something that will affect a lot of other people. So Google is a great example. This is their stock run rate, 14 years a company. Their market cap as of yesterday was $222 billion. Their IPO, I think, was in 2004. But this is just an impressive example, right, of how you can build something very fast when you're talking about startups and software. And I am fascinated just by the methodology of scaling up things, the methodology of success, and how you can apply that for anything in your life, regardless if you're building a company or if you want to do something like internal scalability, which would be, I want to run a 5K. I want to wake up every day 10 minutes earlier to start meditating and find inner peace or something like that. And I wanted to go back, and here, yeah. 2.5 years ago, I was living in Brazil, just graduated from college. I had a great job, a company was, but my dream actually at that time was, I was going to be a great PR guy, because my major was in journalism, and I was going to work for like a Fortune 500 doing PR, and that was it. And then life kind of sucked at that time, because I was just not getting enough. And then several things happened that perpetuated in this 2.5 years, a bunch of events that made me interested about like what makes stuff successful, right? So graduated in journalism, but I sold everything I had. I had this great job, and I applied to this grad school program called Boulder Digital Works, which actually David Sladen is here today, which is the co-founder of it. He's going to speak later. But that completely changed my life. I moved to Boulder, Colorado, and I started to just learn about myself and what I wanted to do. And that one was actually when I discovered myself to be an entrepreneur, to always be wanting to be involved, working, building startups and all of that. So I co-founded a company called Recomine. During grad school, we were fortunate enough that after 14 months, we sold that company to Buscapé company. It's a great entrepreneurship story here. And the company is still alive, and we have some employees, which is good. I work for another company called SendGrid, which is certainly that definition of massive growth success. It's like joining a rocket ship. I think Marissa Mayer, current CEO of Yahoo, has a great quote, which is like, when you join a rocket ship, you don't ask where you're going to sit, you just join the rocket ship and enjoy the ride. And that's pretty much how I feel there. And I also have another company, which is an events company, related for startups, and we produce events for startups and community events for entrepreneurship. The point being of all of that is that those are very different projects, but I had that same similar scalable element and that feeling throughout all of them. So I was thinking, right, like a project plus this scalable feeling, would it be possible to come up with an equation that would be the scalability equation for anything that you want to scale in your life? And then I came out with this, which is P plus E times age elevated by 37 plus S. And you ask, what is that, right? So it's a problem plus an epiphany times how much you hustle multiplied by itself 37 times, plus some sort of external support, could be mentorship, venture capital, luck, would provide something awesome. Then you ask, what the fuck on the 37, right? Like, where did you come up with 37? And the reason why was because anything elevated by 37 in the course of 365 days, it's just getting better 1% every day. And I take that approach into my personal projects and my professional projects, or anything that I want to accomplish in life. And that came to life when I read this 2009 holiday memo from Zappos CFO. And it was pretty much, he said, think about what it means to improve 1% better improve 1% every day and build upon that every single day. Doing so has a dramatic effect and will make 37 times better, not 365%, which would be 3.6 times better at the end of the year. Wake up every day and ask yourself not only what is the 1% improvement I can change to make Zappos better, but also what is the 1% improvement I can change to make myself better, right? Because we cannot evolve if we don't evolve individually as well. And I thought that it was awesome that he came from a CFO, not a CEO. And pretty much, right? Oh, the clicker. All right, so let's say you want to like you already run everyday 5K, which is already pretty impressive, but you want to make that 10K every day. And then you want to apply that methodology of improvement to that. So you start improving 1% every day on it. And then, right, sounds easy, right? Like just 1% is something very simple. But think about if you actually improve 1% every day. I just put some numbers, on an Excel chart, and the result would be that you would be running 187.5 kilometers a day by December 31st, if you actually improve 1% better every day. And the chart has that same pattern of successful charts that make every single venture capital excited, right? It's something towards the right, up, that looks like an inverse like hockey stick, right? Then if you compare that success to the active numbers of users of Pinterest this year, it looks pretty similar. Or if you compare that to the daily active US numbers of Instagram users, it also looks very similar. Or if you compare that to the active numbers of Android devices that get activated on a quarterly basis, it also does look very similar. And Apple is kind of getting their ass kicked. But and I'm a huge Apple fan, by the way. So applying that to the equation, I'm bringing this, I think it was just relevant, just because he just got elected. This is a documentary that I did in 2009. It was my final graduation project. It was about how the internet influenced the democratic process of getting Obama elected in the first place, because he was the first president that actually used digital methodology and fundraising online to get himself elected. So, but I just applying that equation that I was talking to you guys about. So the problem plus epiphany times hustle, elevated by 37 plus support equals awesome, would be something like, I had a huge problem. I had no idea what I wanted to write about my final graduation project from college. I talked to my grandfather, and at the time I wanted to write about wine, which, I'm kind of a gin person, I'm not a wine person, and it didn't make any sense. Then my grandfather said, just go ahead and you should write about Obama, that he's certainly going to be bringing a massive change. I believe that this guy's going to get elected. And I started researching, and I thought it was fascinating, everything that he was doing. So I said, okay, how could I possibly, this was, by the way, the first project in my life that I dedicated 100% of my energy, right? I think to be 1% better every day, that's certainly something that you got to do. You got to learn to live through the pain, pull some all-nighters and make it happen. But I took a US trip. And since I was a journalism student at the time, I offered myself to some media vehicles to become their international correspondent and kind of write about the election for them for free, which was awesome. And I think it was certainly what elevated it by, 37%. And I got the support that I got a publisher, and it was great that I also had all the video equipment and infrastructure to pull up together a great documentary. Right? So I think all of those combinations, but if you think about that and you apply that for something personal in your life, it would also work and make any of the projects that you want to build or participate 1% better. And then I got some good, awesome results. I got, awarded, and I got a nomination for an interesting festival and all that. But that doesn't really matter. This is the worst letter I have received in my life. This was a fucked up day. I hated this day. Sorry about pardon my French, but this is my visa denial from the United States of America. I've been living in Boulder for 2.5 years. I love Brazil. I love the United States. This was exactly the week that I decided it was a crazy 15 days of events. I had just decided to take a job at SendGrid, live in the US. At the same time, I was the CEO of my startup and we just sold Chubuscope and I decided to resign, right? So I resigned waiting that my visa was gonna come through. And then when I was in the process of exchanging my student visa for my working visa, my visa got denied. So it was kind of like, no, now I gotta go back to Brazil, but I don't have a job. It turns out that, that changed and I actually did have a job. So let's say if you wanna apply the 1% better, massive scalability equation to something that is out of your control, it can work as well. So my problem was Uncle Sam. My solution was Brazil because we have such a growing internet market that, and it's fortunate enough that the company wanted to keep me. This time, the hustle was actually praying because I don't have a lot of control under, the U.S. government decision. But fundamentally, I think that putting my mind into the right mindset that I was gonna, the appeal that we filed and all of that they made a mistake in the case was certainly gonna be fundamental to bring a good result to life. But support was fundamental, right? So the company still kept me as a contractor and I was still working for them. And I had this amazing person called Brad Bernthal, which is a huge leader at the startup community in Boulder, that provided me a connection to Senator Bennett, which is a federal senator from the United States. And I came back to the US consulate in São Paulo with a letter of recommendation from a federal senator. And believe me, that made a lot of difference. So I got the visa, right? And then the last one would be, where I currently see myself in, which is SendGrid. It's amazing. Just to be part of this, I joined as the 40th employee. Today we have 116 people. This was a year ago. When I joined, we had 35,000 customers. Today we have 75,000 customers in 136 countries, which is something that it's unprecedented enough. I've never joined something that grew so fast, right? And that is what I think, some of the people there, they take that 1% mentality approach, and sometimes they don't even know it, right? So it's hustle, and the support here would be probably $27.6 million that we raised. That brought, some of those awesome customers that today we can do the email infrastructure for some of those guys. But I think that, massive growth is something that I'm extremely interested about, and I think that everybody can take that approach to the simple little things, like learning how to cook. How can I be 1% better at that? Or starting to run, or starting to meditate, or getting your dream job, or the job that you get after your dream job. So if there's one thing that, I believe that could be a great technology of the future, is that the answer for the technology of the future already relies within us. It's kind of like a Buddhist approach. So if you have one thing to get out of here today, is that keep it in your mind that everybody here should be and could be 1% better every day. Thank you very much.